Hi everyone, good morning and good evening. Welcome to SAP Manufacturing Integration and Intelligence Knowledge Sharing session. Today I will walk you through SAP MII Administration menu page, which will allow you to perform a system level settings and configurations for SAP MII. So there are mainly two parts of SAP MII. One is administration and another is development. So first I will walk you through SAP MII administration, and then I will move to SAP MII development in subsequent session. So how you can access SAP MII administration menu page? So accessing SAP administration menu page, you have to use URL http clone double slash server name clone port slash xmii slash menu.jsp, and administrator menu page has been categorized in groups, and each groups known as a navigation tree. Okay, so each navigation tree consists a list of navigation links which allow you to perform a system level settings and configuration. So if you will see here, a system management is one navigation tree, and inside that a system properties, system job, etc are a system navigation link. Like that, security services is a navigation tree, and inside that it might be one or more than one navigation links. And here you can see the release, or you can say this is the version of SAP MII 15.4.1. So this system management is mainly used for system level settings and configuration, as well as monitoring existing system level settings and configuration. So moving to our next slide, the system management. Inside that there is a system properties. So system properties is a navigation link. When you will click on a system properties, it will open a system properties page, and this system property page consists a list of configuration parameters or configuration properties and its corresponding existing values. So here if you want, you can make the changes according to your requirement, but most of the projects it's rarely needs the changes in system properties, but option is here, you can make the changes according to your requirement. So system properties screen is used to change or display the current system settings. System administrator take the decision for changing the system properties value. The meaning is that only the user who has a system administration role assigned, he or she only make the changes on system properties. So just taking one example, here a session timeout. So what is this session timeout? And session timeout is in minute, and it's mentioned as 60 minutes. The meaning of the session timeout is when a user logged into SAP MII system and he is idle for 60 minutes, the system will automatically log him out from the system. So session timeouts completely depends on the requirements, how business wants to keep this value. So you can increase or decrease the session timeouts by using a system properties page. If you have some proxy settings, you can update the value inside the proxy settings. Job history cleanup. So job history cleanup maintain here 24 hours. What is the meaning of this? So it will clean all the job history which is so it will clean all the job histories older than 24 hours. So if you want to keep a logs for more than 24 hours, you can make the changes here. So like that, there are a lot of properties for SAP MII system, and you can make the changes according to your requirement, and then you have to save it. Whatever you are making a changes here, it will affect your whole SAP MII system. So be sure before making any changes in a system properties level changes. Moving to next, SAP MII system maintenance job. So here you can see there is a navigation link system jobs. When you double click on this system jobs, it will open system job page, and this page you can see a list of system jobs gets displayed. So what it is, the SAP MII system maintenance job or system job run periodically in background at a defined frequency. So at defined frequency it's run in a background. But what is the usage of these system jobs? So system jobs is maintaining your system. So suppose example, any application which is running, so you need some maintenance. So there might be some manual maintenance or there might be some automatic maintenance that can be done. So here you can see all the automatic maintenance jobs has been created, and this job gets created at the time of the system installation itself, and the frequency has been defined. So here just taking one job as an example, job history cleaner. So job history cleaner cleans your job at every 30 minutes. Okay, it will run a job which will clean a job history data at every 30 minutes. So what all data it will clean at every 30 minutes? So this depends on what settings you have done in a system properties page. So here you have done a job history cleanup will clean only the data which is older than 24 hours. So this system job history cleaner scheduler will run at every 30 minutes, and it's search if there is any records which is older than 24 hours, and it will delete. Suppose what will happen, it will not delete. So the record will be getting increased day by day in a table, and it might affect the system performance. So that's the reason SAP MII itself has a system jobs which is to maintain your system. SAP MII Transaction Manager screen. So coming to Transaction Manager. So what is a Transaction Manager? So Transaction Manager shows all the transactions that has been developed in SAP MII and that is running in a background. So suppose at any time, if you want to see how many transactions are running in SAP MII system, you can come to the Transaction Manager screen and you can select a running. So it will show you all the list of the transactions which are currently running on your system. So this is very useful a screen to monitor a transaction status at a real time. So here you can see there are lot of statuses are there for a transaction. So the pending one is a pending. So what is the pending status for the transaction? So whenever you are running a transaction that is called asynchronously from another transaction, so it might wait for some time for the CPU or memory for execution. So the time the transaction is waiting for execution, at that time of point the status of the transaction will be updated as pending. And running is the status when SAP MII transaction is in execution mode, it is executing. So at that time it is status will be running. Successful, if transaction executed successfully, so a status of that transaction will be updated as successful. What is failed? If your transaction executed successfully with error, so in that case the transaction status will be updated as failed. So terminated, if you are terminating your transaction while execution, at that time the status will be updated as terminated. Break, so suppose you are using a breakpoint inside the transaction, at that point of time it's updated as break. Debug abandoned, suppose you are running a transaction in a debug mode and it's taking time, so already there is an option you can abandon that transaction. So in that case it will be updated as debug abandoned. Debug was successful, where your transaction successfully debugged, so updated status will be debug was successful. When you are terminating your debug, so a status of the transaction will be debug was terminated. And if your transaction is in debugging mode, so that time the transaction status will be debugging. So this is a monitoring screen where you can monitor all your transactions statuses at any time. So what is the transaction in SAP MII? So transaction is nothing but a task for which you have written a program in SAP MII to perform it. So this is a small or program that will be performing a specific task. So that is known as a transaction. And more about the transaction we will discuss in a development section. And here you can see the output, what was the output of the transaction, the log related to the transaction, you can see here. another navigation link is scheduler. So what is scheduler? Scheduler is nothing but a scheduling a specific task periodically at a specified frequency. So suppose if you want to run a particular task at a particular frequency, so you can create a scheduler for that. So executing manually at the exact time, it might be possible or it might not be. It might be the human error and all. So you can schedule that task. So SAP MII has an option where you can schedule your task, and that is known as scheduler. So SAP MII scheduler screen is used to create, edit, delete, schedule job for SAP MII object like transaction and query. So here, by using SAP MII scheduler screen, you can create your new scheduled job. You can edit or you can delete your existing scheduled jobs. And now here the question is, what types of scheduled job you can create. So whatever you are seeing here, transaction, query, MDO, KPI, virtual tag, PIC, production events, all are the SAP MII development objects. And you can do the development in SAP MII, and that will perform a specific task, and that actually you can map to your scheduler to run at a specified time. Either it's daily, monthly, so it will run in a background. So whenever you will be selecting any one of them, suppose the transaction, so you have to provide the path for that transaction that has been developed in SAP MII, and then you can set the frequency for that. So this is nothing but scheduling your task at a specified frequency and a specified period of time. And anytime you can use this page to monitor either this scheduler is running, stopped, or pending. So pending is nothing but it's waiting for execution. A stop means this scheduler has been stopped, so it will not be running. And if the status will be running, it means that task is currently running. Coming to next. So here I just given an example how the scheduler works in a background. So scheduler is to schedule a job, and job is nothing but your task. So might be there will be multiple tasks that you want to schedule. So suppose there is a task 1, task 2, task 3, task 4, and you have scheduled it. Scheduler 1, every 1 minute you want to execute the task 2. Scheduler 4 is executing task 1 at every 1 minute. So at every 1 minute your scheduler is running and performing a specific task. So in that case it will generate a execution history of that task, and that execution history gets stored in SAP MII table, and this table's data increase at every execution, and same time it also creates a execution schedules for the future. What will be the time when our next execution will be performed for task 1. So execution history can be deleted by using a system job. So each time the system job is running, and it sees that if there is any execution history, execution jobs which is older than 24 hour according to the configuration, it will delete it. And you can schedule MII object like transaction, query, MDO and etc as a task. SAP MII active session. So what is SAP MII active session? So active session, a screen will show you how many users currently logged into the SAP MII system, and it will display the login name, full name, email address, when this user was created, last access time, and when this user will expire. So all this information regarding the logged in user will be displaying here. So anytime if you want to see how many users has been logged in the SAP MII system, you can come to the active session screen and you can see that. Now coming to SAP MII custom attributes. So this is very important in SAP MII. So whatever the custom attributes you are seeing here, that is standard custom attributes created by default at the time of installation. So SAP MII custom attribute screen is used to create, edit, delete the custom attributes for user and roles, and it can be used as session variable for the user or roles. So first understand what is the custom attribute. So making you understand a custom attribute, let me give an example. So suppose there is a user and the user is logging to SAP MII. So whenever you are logging to SAP MII system, SAP MII automatically associate some variables value to user. So what is that variable values? That is known as session variable. Like suppose you are logging to SAP MII system, so MII automatically associate Illum logging name with the logged in user, what is the language, and what is the roles he has assigned. So these three variables is automatically assigned at the time of logging to SAP MII. And anytime we can read directly all these three values inside a web page. If you are creating a web page with extension .irpt, you can directly access this user specific values. Suppose you are logging to an web page .irpt for SAP MII, so you can directly Illum logging name you can access by using inside the curly braces, and here Illum logging roles and language also you can access. But suppose I want to add an extra custom attributes to a logged in user. So in that case, the MI custom attributes need to be created. So here, suppose I want to add a plant as a custom attribute, and whenever someone is logging, so at the logging time itself I will identify either that person is belonging to plant 1000 or plant 2000, and according to that I will allow him to perform the action. So in that case, you have to create a plant as a custom attribute, and then that custom attribute need to be mapped to a user, or that can be mapped to a role. So what is the mapping a custom attributes to a user and custom attribute to a role? So mapping a custom attributes to user. So at the time of mapping, I will show in MII how you can map a custom attributes to a user or role. So suppose you are mapping a custom attributes to a user. So in that case, you can select the plant, whatever the custom attribute you have created, and what value you want to map to user 4. And whenever the user 4 will log into MII system, you can read the plant value that is assigned to user 4 by using a curly bracket and inside that the custom attribute. And suppose I have same custom attribute you have assigned to role. So role is nothing but like xmii underscore user or administrator. So if you are assigning to a role, and role can be assigned to the multiple user. So if you have already created a custom attribute plant, and you have mapped that plant custom attribute with value 1000 to a role, and this role has been already assigned to 3%. So whenever the user 1 will log into a web page, it will associate the value 1000 with the user 1. The same value will be associated with user 2, and same value will be associated with user 3 also, because you have mapped your custom attribute to role, and role has been assigned to these 3 user. So when you have a multiple user, so you can handle it by using assigning a custom attribute to a role, and that actually you can read easily from .irpt page. So .irpt web page is specific to SAP MII, where you can access a custom attributes and its value directly on the web page. But if you are using a .html web page for SAP MII, you will not get this inbuilt functionality. It cannot read your SAP MII custom attributes directly on .html page. So coming to the mapping screen. So here you can see a custom attribute creation. So you can create one custom attribute, and then there is a custom attribute mapping. So without mapping a custom attributes, there is no use. So whenever you want to map a custom attributes to a role or user, you have to click on custom attribute mapping link, and then actually you can see here the list of roles is getting displayed, because you have selected here the roles. And you can see here all the available attributes that has been created in MII. You can select any one of the attribute which you want to map to a particular role, and then you can click on add. It will come at the right hand side, and here you can provide the value for these attributes. So whatever the value you will provide here for the attribute SAP PIM columns, so it will be attached to all the users who has a SAP XMII administrator roles assigned. So this is very important for SAP MII, the custom attributes and mapping it to a user or roles. So now coming to the configuration. So SAP MII configuration screen is used to import, export the SAP MII configuration files from one system to another system. So suppose you have done some configuration, you have created some global variables in your development system. You have created uh, some schedulers, some time periods in SAP development system, and you have created some custom attributes, message listeners. So whatever the object you have created as a configuration in SAP MII, you can transport it to development to quality or production. So for that you have to export the file. Suppose you want to move a configuration from development system to quality system, you have to open a development system and click on export, and here keep it a same all these thing, a zip file, and passphrase you have to provide any number. So just you can provide one, and select here all the objects whatever you want to transport from development system to quality system, and click on export. One file will be downloaded as a zip file, and now save that zip file on your desktop, and then log into quality system, and then click on import there. So if you will click the import in a quality system, it will ask you what is the path for the zip file. So you have to browse and select the downloaded zip file, and there also it will ask what is the passphrase. The same value you have to provide at the time of import also, which you had provided at the time of export, and then you need to click on import. So all the configurations that you have in a development, so now it will be available in quality. Coming to next, here projects. So project is a screen which shows you all the projects. Either it is a local deployed projects, it will show all of the projects that has been created in SAP MII. So first object in SAP MII is project, and inside that you can create your folder structure according to the objects that need to be grouped in a folder. So this is the screen where you can come and see how many projects has been created in SAP MII development workbench. So here the VG price is deployed project, and this is completely provided by SAP. You cannot edit or delete this project. Here is also a deployed projects from SAP. So these all are the deployed projects is from SAP as a standard, and default is also a standard. So if you want to create a project, you can go to SAP MII workbench and you can create a project. So this section I will come when I will come to development, and here if you want to keep the backup for the project, you can select any one of the project and you can click export, and you can keep the backup. Anytime you can click the import and you can import. So this export and import of this project is very useful. Suppose you are not using any deployment tools like NetView or like NWDI, CTS Plus. So in that case, you can import your projects from development, and the same you can export your project from development and you can import it back in your quality. So this screen can also be used for exporting and importing your projects, or transporting from one environment to another environment. And this screen allow you to edit, delete of the available projects, import or export of the projects. For that, an administrator role is mandatory. Coming to SAP MII localization screen. So what is SAP MII localization? So localization is uh, nothing but the language transformation, where you can use a different language. So whenever you are using a different language like English, German, Spanish, so in that case you can create here your name and its value. So here the name is btn underscore insert, and what is the English name for this? This is insert. So you can maintain here all language for the btn underscore insert. So whatever user language will be there, accordingly the insert or other language will be displayed in SAP MII. So by using localization, you can develop a web page that can be accessed from different country with a specific language. So for all the language key and its value in a different language need to be maintained in a localization. If you don't want to use SAP MI localization, you can use SAP UI5 localization also by developing your web page. So that also will come into the development and we will explain. So this is a content usage. So this is one screen where you can see the statistics for the transaction, templates, manufacturing data object, MDOs. So here you can see the statistics only. It means number of runs, how many times this particular objects run in MII, what was the average time, what was the minimum run time, what was the maximum run time. So here you can see the statistics for the transactions or other objects available in MII. So this is only for monitoring purpose. And this is a personal data manager. So this is one screen and this is personal data manager, and this features added recently in SAP MII. So what it is? So here you can anonymize a data associated with a user in MII database table. So what is anonymization and why it's needed? So anonymized is nothing but removing identity of a person from a data. If you want to, suppose whatever the transaction is happening and that is associated with her user ID, and anytime you can track who has performed this transaction, but you don't want to keep a username, you don't want to store the username who was associated with which transaction in SAP MII after a retention period. So by default the retention period is 10,000 days. So after 10,000 days you don't want to keep the user and data relationship, transaction relationship. So in that case the MI has a screen that is known as personal data manager, and there you have to provide your user ID and click on anonymize. It will ask you for confirmation, and if you will click yes, so whatever the data or whatever the transactions in SAP MII that is older than 10,000 days, it will change the randomly user ID. So now your user ID will be made as anonymous. It means that will be one random user ID assigned with that transaction. So to change the retention period from the SAP MI main menu, choose the system properties link in the system administration and navigation tree. So by default this is the 10,000 days, but you can anytime change this retention period, and you can use the anonymize functionality to uh, remove the mapping between user and transactions in SAP MII. So that is all for the today. I will upload more videos on SAP MII administration, and then I will move to SAP MII development. So thank you for watching the video. Thank you very much. Bye.